Hi everybody, Matt Quinlan here. Welcome to this week's edition of Whiteboard Wednesday, where we tackle real-life issues that our clients face and we answer questions that we get from people that call our office. This week we're going to be talking about rental car insurance and if you need it when you rent a car. We've all been there before. You find yourself coming in off a flight. You're at the rental car company's building off-site, and there's a big line, and you finally get to the front. And the rental agent's pushing paper in front of you. She's done it a million times. You know, there's things for you initial and sign and all this information kind of coming and going. And the agent begins to make you feel like you need this insurance because you don't understand your coverage and you might not be covered for all these things. And you start feeling insecure and oftentimes you fall for it. And statistics show that 30% of the time people do in fact buy this rental car insurance. And the fact of the matter is most of it is totally redundant. You're covered anyway. You do not need it. You're not going to be able to really benefit from it after you purchase it, but you're going to spend an arm and a leg doing it. So I created this Whiteboard Wednesday about the rental car insurance because I wanted people to feel a little bit more confident about what they're doing when they're renting a car and whether or not they need this stuff, and have them better understand kind of what it is that they're being offered. So let's get into it. Rental insurance, is offered with four types, basically. The first one is loss damage waiver, and this covers you for crashes to vehicles, theft of the vehicle that you're renting, and vandalism to the vehicle that you're renting. You're right to think that your own insurance will cover you for this. Your personal auto, it certainly will, so long as you have both collision and comprehensive coverage. Collision covers the damage to the vehicles in a crash, and comprehensive covers the other ways that your vehicle could be harmed, a fire, a theft, vandalism, a tree falls on it, and that type of thing. So if you do in fact have collision and comprehensive, your own personal auto policy will cover you for what they're offering you for about $20 a day. It's not cheap. If you go away for a long weekend, you can spend almost $100 just getting the loss damage waiver that you probably don't need. The only kind of downside to using your own policy is that there's a deductible. $500 or $1,000 is pretty typical. So, you should weigh that, when you're making the decision about whether or not you want to purchase it. And then loss of use is another issue I want to raise because loss of use is the amount of money that the rental company loses by not being able to put that particular vehicle out on the road. So if it's being repaired because you've damaged it, they're going to be losing profit and they will charge you for that and you'll be responsible for it. Most good personal auto policies will cover you for that, but it's something to check into because you can run a $1,000 tab pretty quick on a car that rents for 50 or 60 bucks a day. So you might want to look into that. Obviously with the rental damage waiver, this is included. The other type of insurance that is typically offered is liability insurance. Now, liability insurance is required by California law. So you either have to produce proof that you have your own personal liability coverage, or you have to buy theirs. Okay, so this one is pretty much a no-brainer. If you have your own personal policy, obviously you're going to have liability. I don't really think you need to go purchase theirs. I mean, their coverage is $1 million, which is, that's a pretty big policy. But if you're so into having $1 million, you should probably raise your own rates, your own coverage limits rather of your insurance policy and not be buying theirs. This typically runs about $10 a day. So, also not very cheap when you, multiply it times the number of days that you rent. Liability insurance, of course, covers damages that you do to other people, to their vehicles, to injuries that you might cause. I'm a personal injury lawyer. I represent folks that are harmed by people that, in fact, have liability coverage because, they've ran a light or, were texting and driving or something like that, and they cause injuries. And so this type of thing will cover you for that, which is, obviously a positive. One thing I do want to draw attention to here is that both of these things, if you're planning on using your own personal auto policy, it won't cover you if you're doing business. So when you're traveling, you rent a car, if you're there for business, your own personal auto policy probably won't cover you. You might not know that, and it may be too late once you realize it. They'll deny your claim because you're doing business, all right? And so be really mindful of what the purpose of your trip is. And if it's business related, assume that the insurance company is going to find out. And definitely either buy all this insurance and expense it or write it off to your business, or speak to somebody at your work and make sure that you're covered by the business's company auto policy. This is a really easy trap to fall into. If you're traveling for personal reasons, great, no problem. But if you're traveling for business reasons, keep this in mind. The third type of insurance that's offered by rental companies is personal accident insurance. Basically, this is insurance that pays for your medical bills if you're involved in an accident and you're injured. It covers your passengers as well. It's really kind of like health insurance. So if you have health insurance, you might be thinking to yourself, why do I need to buy this? I already have somebody that's going to pay my medical bills, and you're probably right. So if you have decent health insurance, probably don't need this. Another really smart angle is through the MedPay provision of your own auto policy. Most people's auto insurance has about $5,000, sometimes as much as $25,000, and your own auto insurance company will pay for your medical bills. No questions asked, fault's not important if you present them with the bills, and so this is a way to get your medical bills covered. The fourth type of insurance that rental car companies offers personal effects insurance. This basically protects your items, your computer, your cell phone, your camera, your GPS. And so, if something gets stolen, they'll cover it. This runs about $5 a day. And I should mention that so does this personal accident insurance. It's also about $5 a day. So for $5 a day, they'll basically cover you if anything gets stolen. I mean, seems pretty unlikely your stuff's going to get stolen. You should probably consider what it is you're traveling with. If you've got expensive computers and equipment or something, you might want to get this. But otherwise, probably something you could pass on for $5 a day. It does add up. The other thing is if you have homeowners or renters insurance, it'll cover you for this type of thing. There's a deductible, obviously, but if you rent a car and you're not traveling for a business reason and somebody breaks into it and steals stuff, your own renters or homeowners insurance will cover you. Now, another idea that floats around out there is, well, I have a credit card and I've heard that credit cards pay for rental insurance for, they cover you for stuff like this. And that's partially true. It's important to note that it only covers you, though, if you actually use that particular card. So, just having an Amex card or a Visa card or something doesn't mean that suddenly you have insurance. You actually have to use that card for this particular transaction, and then they will cover you with some exceptions. First things first, it's a secondary coverage. So it's not really, a primary coverage that's going to protect you a lot. It just kind of fills in the holes. It stands behind anything you purchase from the rental car company. It stands behind your personal auto policy and will cover you, but only if it has to. So it's not the type of thing that's great, and you are going to have to bring your own claim against your personal auto insurance, which may raise your rate. So this won't protect you from that. And there's some limitations to it. Like I said, it's not the best. It will cover you for collision and loss of use, which is good. It's usually maxed out though at $25,000 to $50,000. So a decent amount of coverage, but there are some limits. It'll only cover you for short-term rentals. This credit card insurance, it won't, if you rent a car for a month or 2 months, or have a car, while yours is being fixed or something. Once you go over either 15 or 30 days, then it nullifies it. So long-term rentals are no good with credit card insurance. It does not cover you for liability. It does not cover you for any of your medical bills, and it doesn't cover you for any of your property loss either. So you're going to want to look into the fine print of your credit card statement, or call the company and ask them which coverage is if you're going to be traveling. There's lots of little exceptions too, like you can't have an expensive car. If you've got a sports car, no coverage. If you've got a nice big SUV, no coverage. There's a lot of different things like that, so you're going to want to kind of know what you're doing if you're going to rely on this type of thing. And then the last thing that sometimes people do is they buy the travel insurance. And if you're buying flights online or something like that, you've probably seen travel insurance. And actually, travel insurance isn't the worst idea if you're kind of someone that doesn't have a car, you're uninsured or something like that. It serves as primary to your personal auto policy, which is great. That means you don't have to bring your own claim to your policy, so it won't raise your rates. That's a good thing. It only covers you for collision and loss of use, and it's certainly much cheaper than buying it at the counter from the rental car company, rather. So if you kind of think ahead, you can save some money, you can get the same coverage. So this is kind of how it all works. At the end of the day, I think my advice would be, if you are well insured, if you have a good auto policy and good health insurance, then you don't need this stuff, all right? You know, all this money is going to be put to waste. I mean, you could spend $40 a day, you know, buying insurance that you don't need because somebody made you feel insecure when you were renting the car. Those people, by the way, make a commission when you buy the insurance from them. So it's a sales thing, and it's probably really a waste of your money. And if you're well insured, then I definitely recommend you don't buy any of this stuff. Be confident, say no thanks, you know you're covered. And if you don't have an auto policy and you're kind of, you know, relatively uninsured because you don't have a car and maybe you don't have, you know, a lot of assets, what I recommend is, obviously, if you rent a car, you need the liability coverage. It'll cover you for $1 million. That's great. And then make sure you use a credit card. And it will cover you for the collision and loss. So, you know, you're going to have to buy this for $10 a day. And then you'll have the credit card, which you don't have to pay anything extra for, that will cover you for all the damages that you do. So that's kind of my recommendation about how to approach it. You know, if you're going to be traveling with really expensive items, consider the personal effects. If you're not, it's just normal, you know, travel with normal stuff, pass on this. If you have health insurance, I recommend you pass on this. And, you know, that'll at least leave you not wasting your money. So that's it. You know, those are the issues that you're going to face at the rental counter. If you have any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. If you have any questions at all about anything related to personal injury matters, I'm also happy to answer those questions. I appreciate you watching. I hope you learned something, and I will see you next week on Whiteboard Wednesday.